So do you think AI is becoming more strategic in how finance operate and manage their cash?
I don't think it's just AR. So I think finance in general is becoming more strategic. Back in the 80s, sales were the forefront of the organisation. When the big tech boom came, that was then product. Now it's finance's time to step into that spotlight. The CEO, they're looking at what they can do next, and they're starting to listen to the CFO from a perspective of how do we grow and what do we have available in order to grow and what direction do we go in? Yes, AR is becoming far more strategic, but finance as a whole.
Yeah, so receivables then is key to that growth. You need your money. So what's kind of preventing accounts receivable from having a real-time visibility of their cash position today?
Previously, a credit manager would give a forecast based on gut feel, looking at their aged debt, saying, my debt from 0 to 30, we're going to bring in 80% of that. My later debt is going to be sort of 10% of that. And that's quite a rudimentary way to do that because the tools just weren't available. So this is the way that forecasts from an AR perspective would happen. There is a huge variable, and that variable is the person that owes you money. So you're never going to be able to predict that. And you have to tighten the things around that to make sure that you're able to predict where you're going to be with your cash.
Where does AI come into the picture, and how does that improve the cash visibility through the AR?
The underlying decisioning is really that data piece. So if you can combine other data with the aging balances, you can look at things like where the payments are coming into the business, from what areas and how often. So the AI is going to be able to very quickly assimilate all of that data, and from that say, this is a more likely forecast.
So with having that kind of data-driven forecast, a connected platform is key. So how important is it that AR sits with payments, it sits with cash position, and it sits within your treasury workflow?
The more fuel you can give the AI, the more accurate it's going to be. Because an AI has far more bandwidth than a human, looking at every single payment, that likelihood of it coming in based on a number of different data points, just really sharpens up that forecast. Then that adds into the overall forecast. And then it gives the CFO the stability that they need in order to make these strategic decisions based on where is the liquidity that we've got, what are we going to do with that?
That's an interesting point. So what difference do you think it makes for a CFO when they are getting real-time insights into receivables rather than managing it through an exceptions process?
Now they can go, as of right now, I've got this much cash and I expect this much cash within the next hour. So you can see like the leap ahead that having connectivity into these streams changes the whole picture. There's an acquisition target. We want to go for it. We know we can go for it right now. So it really equips the CFO with the tools they need to be able to go to the CEO confidently and say, yeah, absolutely, we can do that.
Yeah, and how important is it for a CFO to have KPIs and benchmarks that sits around their kind of accounts receivable process, just to help show progress and to help manage where they are today?
If they can just quickly glance and see from a dashboard perspective, this is where everything is. If something isn't looking quite right, then it can be fixed sooner.
Yeah, and from my perspective, it feels like the accounts receivable process seems to be quite manual in organisations today, and looking to the future, it's going to be very automated with these AI platforms. Do you agree with that? And what impact will that have on the finance teams?
I think it elevates the role within the finance teams. So, you speak to any finance person, they're going to know Excel inside out because that's the tool that's their preference. Data entry or, line by line entering in information, those tasks are taken away from them. And then it allows them to do the human value add stuff, the relationship building. So when I'm speaking to a customer that owes me money, I can understand them, I can empathize with them, and I can build that relationship, which ultimately leads to better business, better customer experience. So it really elevates those roles.
Yeah, and it feels like then that finance team's becoming more proactive rather than reactive.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I will still speak to businesses today who wait for debt to become overdue before they do anything with it. The new world allows them to be far more proactive and to speak to the customers that need to be spoken to, reminding them or just making sure that, the service they're receiving is okay and that payment's going to come in.